Winged Nation presents, presented by Drydene DRF Racing Oils.
Brad Sweet, the Big Cat, the current World of Outlaw champion. Now, of course, he is also a winner of the Knoxville Nationals, doing that last year in 2018. What a story Brad Sweet has, coming through the ranks, his dance with NASCAR, and then back to sprint car racing. Earlier this season, at the Jackson Nationals, Erin Evernham caught up with the Big Cat, Brad Sweet. With thousands of laps logged, Drydene's DRF racing oils were built and proven on the track. And now they're ready for your race engine. DRF is engineered exclusively for high horsepower racing engines that require maximum performance against the toughest competition. And DRF racing and break-in oils are built with competition-grade ZDDP to protect critical engine components while boasting improved torque and horsepower and superior temperature reduction. To get DRF in your engine, go to drfracing.com or call 1-877-DRYDENE. And now here's Erin and Brad.
Hey Wing Nation, Erin Evernham here, sitting down talking with Brad Sweet today. Brad, we're just going to kind of give a full in-depth interview, go back to your roots. You were born and raised in California. Tell us a little bit about your early years.
I started in outlaw carts when I was 8 years old. Family went to the races. We went to sprint car races. My dad was a mechanic, and we just kind of a family thing where we loved going. None of my relatives really raced, but just kind of grew up around watching NARC 410 racing in California, going to the Gold Cup, things like that, and then started racing outlaw carts when I was 8. And just kind of progressed from there. Got in a sprint car when I was 17, and then moved to Indiana when I was 19. Raced some non-wing stuff. Raced USAC for a little while. Did some trucks and Xfinity cars, and then kind of definitely found my home, here running with the World of Outlaws.
Now let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Do you remember the first time you raced a car?
Sprint car. Yeah, first time I raced a sprint car, or first time I raced a car.
A car, anything.
I just remember. I don't know if I remember the exact first time. I think I do, but I just remember there was the first, couple times that I finally got to get in. I was just so antsy to get in. My brother got to get in before me, and I just wanted to so bad. So I remember finally getting to, and then then finally being competitive.
And were you good when you were racing when you were younger?
I think the first time I got in, I was pretty slow, but I literally hadn't driven anything. And then I think it was pretty quick. I started being pretty competitive, and then I think it was very competitive. Like when I first started racing outlaw cars, there was just 3 classes. There was box stocks, 125s, and 500s. Now they have more, beginner box stock, stuff like that, more introductory classes. Well, I just was going against the older kids right out of the gate, and it took me a year or so, and then I actually started winning races.
Now, was there a certain point when you were younger? I know you said the first time you got in a sprint car when you were 17, but was there a point where you were like, this is it, this is what I want to do, I don't care about anything else, I just want to race?
Yeah, I think that was just how I was from basically getting in the outlaw cart. I never thought about school or college or anything, but it was just.
Did you play any other sports? Or
I did. I was into sports. I wrestled in high school, and wrestling is probably my second favorite sport.
Which can come in handy when you're racing.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a good sport. It teaches you a lot of discipline and things, and you have to work hard, and there was a lot of things that I liked about it. I always have followed football or basketball, but being small wasn't necessarily the ideal situation in high school to play those sports. So my focus was always kind of on racing, and every weekend when the kids would be going to parties or do what they do on the weekends, I was going to either race my go-kart or as I got older, going to watch sprint car races or just whatever I could do that was involved in racing, and literally that was all I thought about.
I think one of the first times I met you was at a California track, and I don't, for some reason I remember this. I think your mom brought you to the race. You had your own car maybe, I don't know. But racing's not a cheap sport. How did you make it work when you were younger, or your family? Did you have sponsors? How did you get yourself into sprint cars in the beginning? I've
been very fortunate, just to kind of skim by, but my family didn't have a ton of money. They more than sacrificed for me, but It wasn't necessarily, just buying a bunch of race cars and parts. My dad was very handy, was able to build my go-karts. Like we would we ran our own homemade karts versus, all the factory karts. So, that was cool for us. My dad obviously put a ton of work into it, time and effort. And so we would go racing and do well. And then, as I got a little older, there was some interest from, car owners and people helped us quite a bit along the way. And honestly, just got some lucky breaks. And, once I was able to kind of get, a little more established and started getting phone calls from, like Keith Kunz or, then Kasey, obviously, that's when I was finally able to kind of break through and get in that type of equipment that could win races.
Now, you have a brother and a sister, correct?
Yeah.
Now, you said your brother raced?
My brother is a half brother. He's older than me. He's a lot bigger than me. He's probably like 6'3". So he was into the football and the basketball.
Gotcha.
So he tried to race, and his interest was more into the stick and ball sports. He's still a big supporter and comes and watches whenever he can. And then obviously my sister, she probably would have liked to race, but I think my dad just was so focused on me racing. I don't know if she really showed interest in racing or not, but she claims that she did. So hard to say if she would have got to race or not, but she's obviously still heavily involved in racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did that big break come that you moved to Indy, right, and started racing in USAC? Was that Keith Kunz or was it Kasey? How'd that happen?
So actually, I just moved to Indiana when I was 19, and we had just like a little family car, and me and a friend towed it back there just to kind of race weekly to try to, get our name out there. And luckily, I started getting, some rides from some different local car owners. Actually, Bernie from Indy Race Parts, I drove his car a couple times. Actually tore his car up. I feel pretty bad about that. But I was 19, I was learning. I really didn't have very much experience, but I knew if I wanted to, make it anywhere, that I needed to leave California and go try to be a racer. I didn't really have anything to lose. Everything to gain by just going and trying. And I think I opened some eyes that year and then was able to kind of get a ride with Jack Yaley and JJ Yaley in 2006. And that was a little more, subtle. But at the end of 2006, nothing was really happening. So 2007, I kind of wanted to, maybe just kind of regroup, go back home, race some wing stuff, and I drove for a guy named Gary Perkins. At the end of 2007 is when Keith Kunz was kind of struggling with his midget program, and actually called me to come run Belleville, of all places. And so I basically fired off my second or third ever midget race was Belleville.
Wow.
We did good, and I kind of finished the year with Keith and then flying back and running Gary Perkins' car. And then that's when Kasey had an opening in 2008. And I remember at the end of 2007 getting the call from Willie Kane, and they hired me, and obviously that was a dream come true for me, and it kind of opened all the windows that I've been able to kind of get through now.
So before Kasey calls and Keith Kunz, as a struggling, wanting to be a major race car driver, what was life like outside of the race car? Like, where were you living? Were you trying to find sponsors? How was that?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, the California gig I had was really good. Mm-hmm. It was just you were just going to be more of a at-home racer. Yeah. Gary Perkins, he had a nice shop with an apartment in it. I was just kind of living there, and me and Kyle Hurst were working on the cars, and he was paying us to kind of work on the cars during the week and race on the weekends, and just odds and end jobs for whoever, just kind of everything involved in racing. I was actually pretty happy and pretty content. I was back home, kind of where I consider always my home to be is out in California. So I enjoyed it, but once the opportunity it was like one of those deals they say, sometimes you have to take a step backwards to move forward. I felt like I kind of gave up a little bit, not gave up, but was more settled with, okay, I can go home and be happier racing here than trying to grind it out and not really make much money. And then I finally kind of got the break, and then obviously everything kind of opened up from there.
So you started racing more with Kasey, midgets and sprints, more USAC, right, non-wing?
Yeah, I was hired to drive the Mopar, USAC midget and sprint car in 2008, and then 2009 the Mopar deal went away. The economy kind of took a dump. And then we ran another year of non-wing, and we were trying to kind of get some ARCA and some truck rides going. Got a little bit going in 2009, and then And then 2010, we shifted more to the wing stuff. The non-wing stuff's kind of, my passion was wing racing.
Yeah.
They had Joey Saldana, and they were running for World of Outlaw Championships, competing for tons of wins. And it just made more sense to kind of, to race on the dirt in the wing car. So we just kind of went more that route, and then raced some trucks for 2011 and 2010 and 11 was some truck races, but not very many, and then still would do quite a few wing sprint cars. And then my last Xfinity race was the end of 13. I lost the Great Clips sponsorship. They kind of wanted to shift where they were going, and it just really didn't I really didn't have anything there, and kind of had been running the wing car, so it just made sense to try going out on the World Outlaw Tour.
So going back to the USAC days, you had some big wins. You won at Eldora.
Yeah, we won Belleville,
Yeah.
Eldora, Knoxville.
Yeah.
We kind of won most of the big races in the midgets there for a couple of years. We never did get Turkey Night, or I didn't. Kasey has a Turkey Night, but yeah, I never was able to win that, and Chili Bowl probably are the two biggest ones that we haven't got. But we were very competitive and had a lot of fun.
So when that sponsorship kind of went away and you started racing more in NASCAR, was that? I mean, obviously at the time you probably thought maybe this is it, that I'm going to take my career the NASCAR route. I did the transition and I didn't have much success, but talk about just going from racing a USAC sprint car midget to suddenly driving for a team where there's, it's just it's a whole different operation.
Yeah, it's just you're out of your element.
Yeah.
You're out of what you've trained your hands and your mind and your body to do for, since you were a little kid. I was racing on dirt and, open wheel cars. So I was just probably uncomfortable and lacked the experience to really, I think that we just waited a little too long, which I literally have zero regrets and don't miss it at all. I just felt like it was just a completely different discipline. And I feel like if you were to train, if I had a son or a daughter that wanted to race and their NASCAR was their aspiration, I think I would have got to pavement a lot quicker, just so that they could start to train their, their hand-eye coordination and their body to drive a bigger car, different discipline. And, I think that's all I lacked, and felt like, by the end of it, I could do it competitively, but still just wasn't where I would want to be. And I think everything in racing is, it's just like any other sport, reps. It's hard to get reps in racing, without actually going out there and racing. And a lot of times if you wreck out, you miss out on lots of laps and things like that. So just, the NASCAR thing didn't work out. And honestly, I think it probably happened for a reason. I think I'm just a lot happier and in a much better spot racing here.
What were some of the things that maybe you struggled with in a stock car? I know for myself, I just wasn't used to such a big, heavy car around me. I liked the feel of something lighter and more horsepower. Yeah,
I think just the comfort level of, trying to, every time that I think I was trying to go as fast, I just couldn't quite get to the level I know I needed to get to be competitive. And I also think that a lot of, you need to relay information back to the crew chief, and to get your car to drive right. And it's the same here, but I just didn't have the experience to say the right things and focus on the right things until towards the end I started to get the cars to drive much better in the races, and then, it's obviously a lot easier, but there was just sometimes we just wouldn't get it right, and then you just have horrible races and you kind of have what you have. So, it was just a struggle. It was, there was some good weeks, and then there was a lot of bad weeks. So I really wasn't that happy doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, what were some of the perks maybe, though, of racing in NASCAR? Obviously, there's more money that comes along with it.
Yeah, I think the money side of it's probably what drives most people to it, and I think that's, here you don't make as much money, but I think the racing's way more fun. I think it's, just a different type of skill set, and you really, at the end of the day, the way NASCAR's gone, I don't think you're making a ton less money here anymore.
Yeah.
You may not be as famous, but, in our world, we're as famous as we want to be, for sure.
So while you were running trucks in the Xfinity Series, you were also running some wing sprint cars. Was that difficult to jump back and forth?
We would try to run quite a bit of the trucks to the Xfinity, in one part of the season. So I would kind of get done with that and then focus on the sprint car. But I got to the point where there wasn't a huge transition, but I still feel like to be competitive in either one, you really had to put 100% of your effort into either one. I either needed a full-time Xfinity ride, or I needed, to go run the World of Outlaws.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm here running the World of Outlaws, and it's on my 6th season, and I've just gotten better every season. So it's just, you learn stuff, you get experience, it starts to become, just second nature.
When the Great Clips sponsorship went away and you made the decision, or it happened that you came back racing sprint cars, was there part of you that was disappointed or felt like you left something that you didn't, left something unfinished?
Yeah, it definitely took a little bit of a toll on me. I felt like I didn't accomplish what I wanted, kind of maybe like a little bit of a failure, but I was still really happy racing the sprint car, but it was like I'd kind of gotten to what I had dreamed about, was NASCAR, and then, didn't make it, so to speak. But it's kind of like looking back, it was like those couple years I was never really that happy. So, now I'm here and it's like I'm just way happier in life, and, kind of see life differently, and it's almost like, I'm just kind of glad that happened like that.
Yeah. So talk about your relationship with Kasey. He's obviously done a ton for your racing career. I mean, your history goes back 10 or so years now. But he obviously really believes in you. Like, not only is he a friend, but he has stuck behind you for a lot of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's, he's obviously a great car owner and a great friend, but he's the type of guy that just believes in his drivers. He believes you're going to get it. He knows that there's ups and downs. He knows that it's not as easy as what it looks like from the outside. And, I think having an owner that's gone through the ups and downs of racing, he's just that much more, sympathetic towards you. Obviously, he's going to push you, and we want to get better, but I think he realizes that you're not just going to go out there and win every single race, and it's not going to go perfect. You're always working, and I hope that he can be proud, now, all the time and effort and resources he's put into me, that we're giving back, and hopefully contending for these championships and winning more Knoxville Nationals and Kings Royals. That's his dream, is to have the best sprint car team out there. So hopefully we're giving that to him.
So you came back to race sprint cars full time. That's been how many years now? 5?
This is my sixth year on the World of Outlaw Tour.
So talk about those first years back, focusing just on sprint cars, and living life back on the road again, literally on the road.
Yeah, literally on the road. The first year is just, I think the Outlaw Tour, you need at least 2 seasons to really see where you're going to start shaking out. It's just, there's so many different racetracks and so many different feels that you feel, and so many times that you miss the setup, or you end up not qualifying well because you weren't on the right part of the racetrack. There's just a lot of things that go into it, and controlling the emotions, the ups and downs of, a couple bad nights, and and those first couple years, it was just, it was a little bit of a, just frustrating that we weren't getting the results that we knew we could, and then you'd win a couple and you'd feel like you're on top of the world, but we were just on a roller coaster ride, and we didn't know how to adapt each and every night to, we would think that one setup's just going to work, everywhere, or, it worked one night, it should work the next night. We just weren't open-minded enough, and, I think that just comes with experience. You just kind of start to understand what you need to look for in your race car. You keep an open mind, and you start driving better, you start hitting your marks, you start getting your car better, and, just everything kind of starts to get better. And, I feel like this is obviously the best I've ever been.
When you're going through times like in those first few years where you're just getting beat up, and how do you keep your emotions up? I mean, I did it for 1 year, and I remember just sometimes feeling like, man, I don't belong out here.
Sometimes you go drinking, and sometimes you go lay in your hotel room, or I've kind of learned over the years that you need to have a little bit of separation from the race car at times. I try to get home as much as possible. I think kind of having a little bit of a life outside of just the Outlaw Tour helps at times. So I very much focused on if we do have 3 or 4 days off, getting home, spending that family time, and then I think that you're just that much more refreshed when you get to the racetrack. And I also know that there's going to be the down nights, but it's not the end of the world. You can if you just keep your head up, that you can regroup and you can win the next night. That's what's great about dirt racing, is we're racing literally night in and night out. You need to figure out why you had a bad night, what happened that night. So,
what are some of the things that you think as a driver that you've improved upon since you came back to sprint car racing? I mean, right now you seem like you're certainly at the top of your game, but what are some of the finer things as a driver?
I think just hitting my marks, the car just feels a lot more, second nature to me. I think I can adapt when my car's off. I can figure out where it needs to be and how to run it to, salvage a good finish, or, where I used to just the wheels would fall off, so to speak, and, just more mentally strong, and just understanding all the aspects, from how to restart to, just put yourself in position, understanding bad air, and, just time trial and it's just a little bit of everything. But I would say probably the biggest thing is just being more mentally and physically prepared, studying the film and working out and just maybe just putting more into it, and just really working on my race car. Just, I know every aspect of the car, and me and the crew chief work, hand in hand on every single thing we do. I don't just show up and just drive.
So when you get out of the car after hot laps and you're talking about setups, you're involved in making every decision on that. You don't just tell your crew chief that it feels tight here or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely don't tell him what to do, but I feel like we work together. And when we hired Eric, that was kind of the deal, is we were going to do the car together. It's, I wouldn't say it's all his say, and I wouldn't say it's all my say. Yeah. It's more of a team effort. I mean, I'm the one that's in the car, and I've got the experience, and he's got to rely on me, and there's times that I'm off a little, and he needs, I need to rely on him. Yeah. So we just try to, if we're off a night, we really try to sit down and pay attention, and we've gotten to the point there's certain things you can look at and, okay, that's where we're off, and then we try to come back and counter what our problem was. So we're definitely just getting better at it,
Yeah, you two obviously seem to have something great going on. How important is that? I mean, you've probably been through a number of different crew chiefs, obviously, in different styles of cars you've driven, but that relationship with not only your crew chief, but your crew guys too. Yeah,
I think it's really important, and just one time, a crew chief can maybe not jive with you, but he can jive with another driver. It's just hard to say. You're always kind of searching for that magic connection, so to speak. And me and Eric, kind of found that. We definitely, he's all about sprint car racing, and gives 110% effort all the time, and he's brings a lot to the table, and he's been fun to work with for me. So it's just a good connection right out of the gate. He just went along with what we had. He didn't have all these preconceived ideas, and it has to be this way, and and I don't have that either. So we just keep an open mind each and every night, and try to follow what the car's telling us.
You mentioned physical fitness is something you've really worked on. How do you do that when you're on the road? How do you keep up with it?
You find gyms. You just make it a priority. It's instead of it's really easy to just go to the bar and belly up and, have beers with the guys, or, on your off days, or, I just try to make a point to get up, find a gym.
Do you find a gym like in the local area?
Yeah, I mean, there's Wise, and I have a membership to Anytime Fitness, and I just try, I feel like it just makes me feel a little better in the race car, and it just gives me something to do on the off days. I still have some fun along the way, but I just try to, stay a little more focused that way.
I know you guys work with, is it trainer Ryan? Is that so does he give you workouts to do on the road, or is there a certain type of workout that you like to do?
I've worked out pretty much my whole career, so I have a lot of different things, but you get a little bit limited when you're on the road. I'm into biking, that's probably my thing for cardio, because I can't run because I have a bad hip. So I'll just try to find a gym with a bike, basically, and ride it for 30 minutes. At least it's something, There's always stuff to do. If you want to do it, you'll figure out how to do it. You can do burpees, sit-ups, push-ups in your hotel room. You can do jump rope. You can do, you can find gyms. You got to want to do it. And for the first couple years, once I got on the road, I would never go do that. And I just found that, it's a good vice to have, and I think it helps with the racing too. And
you talked about being more mentally aware and watching video and stuff. And one thing that I know we've talked with you about it on our show and weekly show, focusing on running the bottom, and it's an art to do, and we've seen you do it recently, and it's amazing. Is that something? I mean, obviously the car has to be there for you, but I mean, it's kind of like magic with your footwork, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, it's not just all about watching the video and saying that you're going to go run a certain line. I mean, you can want to. I think the main focus for me is just, instead of worrying about where everybody else is running, just trying to get my car to drive in the lines that I want it to go. And then running those lines to the point that you come in and you're telling the crew chief how to get the car better, not really worried about where everybody else is at, or maybe a different line that's been faster. But we just try to stay focused on us, and what I want out of my car, and that seems to work for us. But watching videos and just seeing certain drivers do certain things, see how different racetracks change. There's a lot of stuff in dirt racing that just is, I always say it's the human element. It's your eyes see it, everyone sees it differently, everyone reacts differently, and I feel like the more experience you get, the more video you watch, the more you just kind of are well trained in what you're seeing.
Where did you pick that up? I mean, obviously everyone says that they want to do it, but a lot of people don't have that work ethic to really go to the gym to study the video. Is it from Kasey? Is it your own drive and determination?
I think obviously Kasey gave me a great opportunity. I have crew guys that are working their butts off. I just don't want to let anybody down. Napa's a great sponsor, but even for me, it's just like, this is my opportunity. You only get to race for so long, and you only get to be in your prime for so long. I just want to make the best of it. I don't want to lose to Donnie Schatz forever. He will drive. He's driven me to the point that I'm willing to push myself to the next level. Whatever that is.
That's awesome. You won the 2018 Knoxville Nationals, the pinnacle of our sport. Talk about that week.
Yeah, I was super focused. I wanted to win that race just more than anything in the world at that point, and we had our car driving pretty good, but we weren't 100% sure we were where we needed to be. We went to the Cappy and we did a few things and weren't that great, and then we did the pole shuffle and we really hit on something that was like really good.
Set up something?
Yeah, we had that pole shootout, nothing to really lose, nothing to gain.
Something.
We just tried a little something that we had thought about, nothing big, but sometimes that's what it takes to give the driver the feel that he's looking for. And and then we still had Oskaloosa and our prelim night, and we just fine-tuned from there. And it was just kind of one of those weeks where I was on my game, the car was on its game, our engines was running great, just everything was just right where it needed to be, and we just executed. We just did what we went there to do. We did what we were capable of, and when you win a race like that, I think it just elevates you to another level. It gives you confidence. You start to feel like, okay, we can go out there and do this a lot more.
You had I forget how many laps there were to go, but you had a restart pretty late in the race.
2 to go. Green, white, checkered.
I thought it was pretty close. Talk about those laps. I can't even imagine as a driver the nerves. I swear I'd be hearing things like something was wrong. Talk about just those last few laps.
Yeah, definitely nervous. I knew I had to hit the bottom, but we'd done it all week, so I kind of told myself in my head, just, basically, just run 2 qualifying laps. Just, they don't have to be perfect, but just don't miss the bottom. And that was lap 48 or 49 and 50 of the whole weekend, and I'd ran the Cappy and the prelim night, so we'd done an awful lot of laps, and just kind of had a good feel for everything. So I just tried to go in there and not overthink it, basically. Just tried to kind of go. I really didn't try to run 100%. I just tried to make sure I didn't miss it, and I could hear him out there, but I just kind of, for whatever reason, even watching it, I get more nervous watching it than I think I was in the car. I was just so focused, to do it. And then, obviously, I think I held my breath for those 2 laps. I think I was just kind of like, oh. And then I got to the checkered, and, obviously, it was just unbelievable feeling from that point on.
I got the opportunity to watch the race or some of it with your father, and I think he was probably as nervous or more than as you're describing watching the video. What was, when you take the checkered flag at the Knoxville Nationals, the yellow lights come on, you've won it. What is that?
It was as good as I would have imagined, or better. It was just pure joy. Just pure relief. My name will always be on that trophy. That's what I want, is just my name to be on that trophy forever. It's our Super Bowl. It's they can't take it away from you. So it just meant a lot. It was just so cool. Then I had all my family there, and my daughter and my wife. So it's just, then you could see the happiness on all their faces, and then, then just celebrating with all the fans was just it was just one of those nights you couldn't draw it up any better.
Now, did you go to sleep at all that night?
No, did not go to sleep. I didn't want the night to end. I sang with Tim Duggar in the barn and experience it with all the fans. I mean, that's what it's all about,
Absolutely.
I think. I mean, you know, I had so many fans come up, and I know my singing's horrible, and I was singing, and I couldn't even hear anything, and we were drinking heavily, and they're like, man, you're a great singer. I'm like, well, no, but it was a lot of fun, yes. So we did have a lot of fun, and you know, like I said, I just won't ever forget it.
That's awesome. You mentioned your wife and daughter were there. You're a pretty new father. Talk about how fatherhood has changed you, what it's like to have a little one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, it's definitely a life changer, definitely for the better. You know, just a lot more substance in your life, a lot more, you know, just, you know, things that are, you know, fun, and you know, she just is fun to go home and just see her, you know, and just play with her all day. So it's been a lot of fun. You know, it's a little challenging, obviously, out on the road, but you know, like I said, I try to get home as much as I can, and you know, when I'm out here, I try to just stay focused on the racing. I think it's just why I do better, but we miss out on a little bit there. So, you know, we're still trying to find our balance, but you know, it's been a whole new life journey, and it's been a lot of fun. Me and my wife, I think, are, you know, having a lot of fun with it for sure.
Do you ever think you'll do the motorhome thing and have the gang on the road, or?
I don't think so. I think we'll rent campers for the Nationals and, you know, maybe some of the bigger races. I think that works better for us. I just try to keep this as my job and that as my home life, and I think that just works better for me. I can go to the gym. I can just stay more focused. I know it's selfish sounding, but I just feel like I get a lot more out of, if I'm going to be gone, I want to be getting 100%, 110% out of me and not have to, you know, I'm not saying it would be bad to be focused on them, but just when I'm out here, I like to stay real focused on the car, be involved in the maintenance of it, working on it, you know, just be around the guys, and then, you know, obviously working out and just try to be focused.
No, I get that. Having a little one myself, I don't think there's any way I could race and be, it's love them dearly, but it's a little distracting.
It's just tough. It's a balance, and everybody does it different, and I don't think there's necessarily a right or a wrong for every other driver, but for myself, that works.
Yeah. Is there any, what races are left on your bucket list that you haven't won yet? What are some of the big ones?
Knoxville Nationals.
You already got that one. What are you?
Another one.
Kings Royal?
Yeah, I mean, I got one Kings Royal, but
Kings Royal.
Obviously paying $175,000 is going to make it a completely different element. You know, to me, it's, you know, obviously that's huge. You know, I think winning at Williams Grove, I think I'd be just happy to win any race at Williams Grove at this point. And a championship, you know, but you say it, it's like I don't want to just win one and be like, that was it. I want to win just a multiple. Like, I want to be on a run, you know.
You want to be the shots akin to
I want to, you know, I'm to the point, I think this is right where I want to be. You know, I want to execute and capitalize on the, you know, the opportunity that I have here.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Still doing this? Hopefully a few championships under your belt.
Hopefully 5-time Knoxville National champion, a couple Kings Royals, and hopefully a couple championships. And you know, who knows from that point. You know, your family's getting older at home, and you know, I don't know how long, you know, I'll want to be out here grinding it out. But you know, right now I'm just, you know, super focused on you know, the task at hand.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck, and we certainly enjoy watching you race.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I love Brad's story. I've gotten the chance to know his father just a little bit. What a great family. Absolutely salt of the earth, and really great that Erin had the chance to sit down and catch up with him on Wing Nation Presents, presented by Drydene DRF Racing Oils. With thousands of laps logged, Drydene's DRF racing oils were built and proven on the track, and now they're ready for your race engine. DRF is engineered exclusively for high horsepower racing engines that require maximum performance against the toughest competition. And DRF racing and break-in oils are built with competition-grade ZDDP to protect critical engine components while boasting improved torque and horsepower and superior temperature reduction. To get DRF in your engine, go to drfracing.com or call 1-877-DRYDENE.
Winged Nation Presents, presented by Drydene DRF Racing Oils.